Yeah, moving then on to the sort of cyber context for Iran. It's really just for background. So, unsurprising to you to know that Iran is highly sanctioned. So that has significant economic restraints and obviously faces major arms embargoes that limits its access obviously to weaponry, and it has its own sort of homegrown sort of missile operations, and will have some links to other states who that it certainly suffers a disadvantage compared to, say, Western states in terms of sophistication of arms and weaponry in that sense. The US rivalry, having the global hegemonic power still just about as your rival, backed by Western Europe, is obviously pretty challenging, and puts you in a fairly weakened position. And also the sort of hostile regional environments we've spoken about, Israel, but obviously still the Gulf states as well. Although there's a bit of a softening, there's still have quite a strong line against the Islamic Republic, and so that broader context, then Iran, a country that sort of will feel kind of isolated and at a disadvantage, I think, in a strategic sense. That obviously is partly why it adopts such a sort of proactive approach towards the region, and it tries to expand its influence to give it that strategic depth. But also, I think, quite an important incentive in terms of increasing interest in Iran in terms of strengthening state cyber capabilities. So it's in that asymmetric conflict. Cyber attacks can be very low cost, very high reward. Because something as simple as a little spear phishing attack, getting the wrong person to click a link by mistake, and the consequences of that can then be huge from something that starts relatively unsophisticated. And also, I think it's about just broadening options. For Iran to try to be reliant on kinetic means alone, whether that's its missile program or attacks throughout the region, obviously immediately invites military action, invites military retaliation in a way that Iran isn't necessarily comfortable with. But adding cyber attacks with their difficulties that Jemima has spoken about, regarding attribution and stuff, it gives a tool and a way for Iran to compete despite its apparent disadvantages. And so I think those are key factors in terms of driving the interest in Tehran in terms of expanding these capabilities.